You're now tuned into the hottest podcast in the world, the Stay Woke Podcast, right here on the SonicBreakdown.com.
Man, it's time to wake up. Get this cake up. Only thing I care about is switching.
Welcome back to another Stay Woke Podcast. This is DeRa Brinson, and you know the Stay Woke Podcast is presented by the SonicBreakdown.com. Go over to the SonicBreakdown.com now and check out our articles and reviews. The latest article that we have out now is what to wear to the Black Panther premiere. A lot of people are saying they're going to wear dashikis and everything, which is great and fine, but there's a lot more to African fashion than just dashikis. So go to our thesonicbreakdown.com and check out that article. You can find out great clothing lines like Dayuno, Okeri Collections, as well as the Pika Square Project. For more information, like I said, go to thesonicbreakdown.com and check it out. But let's get into today's episode. We're going to talk, it's going to be another Let's Talk About It segment, which, that means we're going to interview an artist or somebody that is a creative. And today's going to be specifically over Quinn Isaiah Thomas. A lot of you might know him as GQ. So welcome. Thanks for coming on, man.
Man, thanks for having me, man. Thank you.
So just to let people know, I'm going to give them a little bit of background and, let me know if any of this is not correct. But you're from Oakland. Some of the information that I saw is that you were writing and rapping for a minute, but you kind of like kept it to yourself. And then you went to UNC for basketball. And then that's kind of when like your artistry like took off even more. Is that correct? Is that a good synopsis of kind of a quick synopsis of your journey?
Yeah, most definitely. I think music was something that I always enjoyed. I love listening to music. My mom used to tell me stories about like when she was pregnant with me, how her and my dad used to sometimes put headphones on my mom's stomach and like play different genres of music, like all different types of music. But so like growing up, I just loved music and I loved to write, but I never, in a million years thought I would be with somebody like Jamla or actually be an artist and rapping and making music. But then I went to school in Carolina, and after I graduated, still had a passion for basketball, but met Ninth, and ever since then, it's just turned into something that's been something I love doing, and it's been another passion of mine, and I'm enjoying it.
I got you. I want to go back a little bit, and when you said that you just enjoyed writing, you don't hear that often, especially nowadays. People are going away from reading and like the art of writing.
Right.
What do you think will kind of like foster that in you?
I just always like being creative. I always like just trying to stretch not only my mind or my imagination, but people who might be able to read it.
Gotcha.
Or, if it's music, they hear it. So even when it comes to me and writing, it was just fun to be able to create. Like, it may sound weird, but like in school, like say for English class, for example, my favorite assignments would be the ones where you can just create whatever your own imagination, or a teacher might give you a little base and then you go from there. That was fun to me because it was like, all right, I could take this wherever my mind wants to go.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like there's no limit to writing. Like there's people who've been writing their entire life and are probably authors, directors of movies, screenplays, and they continue to write and still improve and find different ways to express themselves or express somebody else. So that's just what I've always loved about the actual art of writing in itself.
I got you. And when did you realize you were a creator? Because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that don't know their gift, their passion, their craft. And, some of them go through their whole life and never find it or realize it or actually, put work into it.
Right.
And so I think it's lucky that the few of us that do realize what our passion is or what our purpose is or what our gift is, and then get to manifest it and work on it. When did you realize that? Because I think that's a gift in itself of understanding,
I fully agree. I don't think I really realized that it was really a gift until maybe a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
I always knew that I had some type of ability and talent. My friends or I would freestyle and just, play around rapping growing up ever since I was a kid, or around my teammates, even at Carolina. Mm-hmm. And when I was in school, they started a lot of my teammates started sitting me down one by one and saying, man, I know you love basketball, have a passion for it, but I think you have like a real gift with music. And even during college, it would go through one ear and out the other. I didn't pay it any mind. But I think once I graduated from school and I met Ninth and everybody else that's on Jamla right now, for the most part, it got to a point where those raps that I was making, or even poetry and stuff that I was creating, it became where I wasn't just rhyming words now. Now I was really saying how I was feeling, or I can't sleep at night because this specific subject is on my heart or on my mind. And I wouldn't be able to sleep until I clear my head, whether it's musically or just, writing it down on paper. And then that's when recently I can honestly say, because I just went on a Wisdom is Power tour with Rhapsody, and that was my first tour. I've traveled different places and like going to Japan with them and London, but this is my actual first tour in the U.S. So to have, fans and supporters or different people who may not have even known who I was before the show, prior to the show, and come to me after the show and say like, man, that specific song touched me, whether it be a Do You or like Away From Here on E14th, when I had two people actually walk up to me and say, who weren't even together, like back to back, but this young lady walked up to me and she said, I had a cousin who was killed a week ago.
Oh, wow.
To me seeing the show, and another one, a guy, I forgot where he's from, I want to say San Diego, and he was just saying how a friend of his had committed suicide and had left a daughter behind. And things like that, sometimes, because I'm human, so sometimes I've had multiple times where I wanted to quit or felt like, is this really for me? But I feel like certain things that just God blesses in our lives, and he places things in front of us to allow us to see like, okay, maybe I am doing this for a bigger purpose than what I see right now, so I just enjoy it, man. I can't stress it enough to where being able to do something that you love to do, it touches people in a positive way, or it helps people get through a situation, or even if it's just going out and it makes people feel good, that's a great feeling for me. So I think I'll say a few years ago is when I really realized like it was more than just me writing raps, and I could see the creative side in it.
I think that's amazing, and that's one of the things that I talked about on the Last Call podcast that I did about that idea of whatever your craft is, whatever your profession, whatever your skill, whatever your talent is, that and your body's telling you, this is what I really enjoy doing, and you do it, and then we all have those doubts. We all have those moments where we're like, man, I'm not seeing the payoff of all the work that I'm putting in.
Right.
And then you get those little gems, like you said, of, the fans coming up to you and saying, this specific song, it's not a generic statement. This specific song helped me in this specific situation. And, that's showing you that, like you said, that your craft, your art is touching people, which means that regardless of if anybody else says anything or anything else, you're doing something right. Because it's touching people in a positive way, you know what I'm saying? So it's helping them in a positive way. And I think anytime you're doing something positive for somebody else, especially somebody else that's not necessarily doing something for you, I think that's always a good thing.
True. And I'll be honest, man, like I didn't want to rap at first. Like even when people were telling me to, like I met Ninth, and Ninth never forced it, or anybody in Jamla never forced it upon me. But they would ask, like when I first met Ninth, and he was like, man, what you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, fresh out of college at the time. I was 22 at the time. But now just looking back on it, almost 10 years later, I'll be 32 the end of February. It's just dope to see, the places that we've already been and still feeling like still knowing it's just the beginning, especially for somebody like myself, who's still an upcoming artist, but I feel it's getting the recognition and the notice from people, and people are liking it, loving it. So it's a positive thing, man. So I just want to keep getting better and improving. That's all.
Yeah. Some of the things that I do notice, and that to me is very similar to Rhapsody's path, that I kind of see in your path so far, at least anyways, is with Death Threats and Love Notes, and then Rated Oakland.
Right.
The sounds on there are very, to me, very, you can tell that you put time into your craft, and then it's well thought out. You're not just throwing out there to say, hey, let me see, can I get a buzz off this? Things of that nature. And I saw the same kind of deliberate approach with Rhapsody from Ninth Wonder. And I also see the fact that also the artists that are featured on your project.
Right.
Because I remember seeing just a list recently of the features that Rhapsody's been with, Black Thought, Kendrick, the list goes on and on and on, Jay Electronica, and it goes on and on and on. And then now she's just getting the notoriety. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have known about her, but now like the world is seeing her now.
Right.
I kind of see that's where the trajectory of your career is looking. It's just that, like I said, I didn't know about you until I heard you on Rhapsody's Layla's Wisdom.
Right.
And then when I heard that, I was like, just like I didn't know about Rhapsody until I heard her on Complexions from Kendrick. And right. That's the beautiful thing about music to me is, like I said, with her is like Kendrick put me on her. And then from that song only, I went through all her discography and I was like, yo, no, this wasn't no fluke on Complexions. She's been a beast. She's continually making these projects and they're all like, they're continuously good. Like right after that, I got Beauty and the Beast. So I just kept on following and it was a result of that cross thing. The same thing with you. I heard you on her album and I was like, yo, this dude's dope. Let me go check out his discography and see if he's consistent. Because for me, that's the biggest thing about being consistent, giving consistent, good quality work. It doesn't have to sound the same. It doesn't have to have the same content. It doesn't have to be in the same pocket, but that it's consistently good quality. And that's what I saw when I went back to your discography as well, with Death Threats and Love Notes being the first one and then Rated Oakland. But all three albums have a different sound and a different feel. So it shows the evolution of you as well, which I thought was pretty interesting. And that's why, again, I compare you to Rhapsody in that regard of that journey. I'm seeing you guys growing, and it's just good to see that you guys are getting that recognition and continue to get more recognition that I think you guys deserve. Do you see any comparisons between your careers?
I do. Like, I always tell people close to me, or when I have the opportunity, I played basketball pretty much my whole life, but in high school I played with a teammate by the name of Leon Poe at Oakland Technical High School. Yeah.
We played against him because I went to Logan.
Okay, all right, cool. So you know Leon.
Yeah.
So with Leon, man, like I feel like I was always a pretty talented player and was fortunate enough to play with different talented players. But like with Leon, he was highly recruited at Tech at that time, and I just got to Tech ninth grade. Leon was playing with the Soldiers, of course, AAU circuit, just going crazy, playing with LeBron at the time with the Soldiers. So Leon was like bringing so much attention to Tech, like a lot of attention. And what a lot of people may not even know is that we went to a tournament my sophomore year, 10th grade year at Tech in Florida, and that's the first time Coach Williams saw me play.
Oh wow!
He was at Kansas at the time.
Quick in there for everybody out there. He's talking about Roy Williams, the coach.
Yeah,
Coach
Williams, Roy Williams.
Everybody not on that.
My
sports
bad.
That's right. I just had to fill
Williams,
him in. Yeah,
the head coach for North Carolina now. Roy Williams used to be the head coach at Kansas, and that's where he first saw me as a basketball player. And when I was in high school, but that was due to Leon because he came to see Leon play.
Ah, I got you.
So it's funny because. And I don't even think I've had this story with Ninth yet. I think I will have this story with him soon. But that's how I see Rhapsody right now. You know, it's kind of like a parallel because it's like, it's funny because everybody doesn't always have that ability to always see the big picture. Yeah. You know, sometimes just we as humans, we're not always patient enough. Or, you know, you see somebody else maybe getting shine or attention and you're like, well, I deserve that, or I'm talented, and very much so may be, but it's just like, that's that person's time and that's that person's season, you know, and you never know how that person's time and that season could be helping you.
Exactly.
You know, so I just look at it where, as crazy as it may sound, just coming full circle, like, she's my Leon Poe right now. Like, Jamla is my Oakland Tech right now. And that's just how I've seen it. So it's like, and I've always been kind of a role player in my head mentally, even and definitely at school. When I got to college, I definitely became a role player of learning how to play a role. But when I was in high school, it was almost like, you know, I was always the person with the starting role of this and that. But I always try to carry myself like we all have to play our role, though. You know, that's what's better for the betterment of the team. And I think that's the dope thing with Jamla. You know, like, it's crazy because rap is like everybody's biggest cheerleader. You know, even in the position that she's in. You know, like we were getting ready to go to the Grammys, and everybody, you know, we just went down there this weekend in New York to support her, and she was trying to make sure everybody was situated with, you know, travel and rooms and everything like that. We like, man,
enjoy your moment.
Go chill. yeah. Just go chill. Like, we'll take care of everything.
Yeah, we good. But that,
we straight. You
but
know
that speaks to her heart, like you said.
Definitely.
It's good to see that good people that have good hearts that also put in the work in their crafts are getting that shine.
Definitely. So I mean, that's how I always tell people, you know, when it comes to her, if you love her music, if you're ever fortunate enough to come in contact with her, you'll love her even more. You know, because she's a genuine sweet person, you know, and she always just wants the best for everybody, and she's a beast on that microphone, man.
Yeah,
like,
she's
an animal.
Yeah, she's
an animal. So I'm just fortunate, you know, to be around somebody like her, Ninth, and the rest of my Jamla family, like, every day, just to learn so much and grow from them.
I wanted to ask you something in regards to that, actually, is one of the things that I saw early, when I saw this interview that Nine did, and he was talking about you specifically, and he was like, basically, that you're his secret weapon. Like,
right.
what do you think that he meant by that, and how do you view that? And did that add added pressure to you, do you feel? Or was it something that you felt like you can embrace? Like, how did that all go about?
You know, honestly, I never felt any extra pressure from it. It's funny you brought it up, because the first time my dad saw the interview, and he showed me, and he was just like, what? Knife feels you like his secret weapon at Jamla? Like, why is that? But I think I never really asked Knife. I mean, me and Knife talk all the time about different stuff, of course. But I never specifically asked him about that. But I want to say, if I just have to guess, I think it was just because I think I'm that kind of unique, different part of Jamla. And I think a lot of it just has to do with me just being from the town. You know what I'm saying? Like, or even the situation of being a ball player that can actually rap at this level, you know, because of, you know, what we've seen through past of ball players.
Exactly. And we won't go into that, though, but we'll leave that where it is. But yes.
I mean, now you have not even now, but Shaq went platinum, of course. You have Dame, who's rapping and can rap, and
Shumpert,
you know, different stuff like that. So so it's not like ball players can't rap, but we had the more that couldn't rap or people weren't paying attention to. Yeah,
they already built a stereotype based off of what we've seen.
Right.
So in people's heads, they already have this idea of, if a basketball player says that he wants to rap, we already go, oh, it's gonna be whack. It's gonna be weak. It's gonna be. So,
and that's how it was for me for a while. You know, I mean, even now, there's still a lot of people that don't know who Q is or GQ is, and they may hear about the North Carolina story before they hear about the Jamla story. So,
and then they're already playing that perceived notion that it got you. So you have to break those stereotypes already. So,
right. So, for me, it's like, I used to be hesitant to even tell people that I was doing music. Like, or sometimes people would be like, "Oh yeah, I heard you rap. How are you?" I'd be like, "Oh, I'm cool." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's almost like they come back kind of like, wait, you just said you were cool. Like, I really like your stuff, you know, for some people. So, I think as far as the secret weapon thing, I think I have just a unique thing about me, you know, being from Oakland. And then also at the time when that specific interview was released, I was back home a lot too.
Oh, okay.
So it would be a lot of things, like Jamla would have shows or different events, and then usually everybody else would be there. I'd be the only one that wasn't there. So I was kind of like,
he's like, I got something hot waiting. Yeah.
It was like I was kind of like the mysterious guy, maybe, you know. But I think now it's just that, especially with me moving back to Carolina. I just moved back last year.
Okay.
Being closer to the label and everything else, I think now it's less of a secret. I think it's less of a secret now, and I think it's more so like people just, you know, wanting to hear more and see more. But definitely a lot in store and coming, man, and you know. Okay. But it's a good feeling, though. Good feeling.
I'll tell you the way that I took it when I first saw it is the way that I took it, especially after hearing your music, it was like you said, more of touching on. There's something about what what Jamla has already in their artist pool that you're different from. Not to say that any of those other artists are like each other. They all have their own specific spaces, but yours is different than theirs, just like theirs is different than yours. And I do definitely hear that in your sound. Of course, the production is going to be they have a specific sounding properties that they use, but it doesn't sound the same. Like your album does not sound like Rhapsody's album to me.
Right.
But you can tell, okay, yeah, Ninth Crisis, yeah, the producers are the same, but the production is different as well.
And I'll be honest, I think even, again, not to go back, but I think it's just dealing with the region I'm from. You know, just the sound of music, you know, where like Jamla, we all know Jamla is based off boom bap. But I always tell people that may not know it, but it's like Jamla's version of boom bap can be very widespread because of the Soul Council and how talented the artists are. Yeah. So it's like our boom bap is not just always just your regular boom bap. Like we could take it many, many different levels, and not like Knife had always told us, like we can weave in and out of lanes easily. You know, like we're very talented. We're gifted enough to be able to do that. But then it adds something else when, okay, you have this artist who's specifically from this region, and they have this sound, whether it be the Bay Area, Oakland, or just the West Coast. Yeah. So then you add and you implement different things from that, and then it makes it even more interesting when maybe, you know, now you have a Terrace Martin who's from L.A., but he has that West Coast sound, who can also still do boom bap and still do the other stuff, and then mesh it with soul. So we just have a lot of fun, man. We experiment with a lot of things. But, yeah, I think it has a lot to do with just the region and just me as a person, too.
Yeah. That was the other thing that I wanted to touch on as well is I definitely agree with you as well, is that the region. Because some people, like I said, about the Soul Council, Ninth Wonder Crisis, they might say that the sound is the same or similar. But there's a production on E14th, and then I can specifically hear Bay Area sounds that I never heard in when they did production for Rhapsody, or they did production for when they worked on production for Mac Miller on a previous album that they did with him. Like there's different sounds, and I can hear specific like Oakland, Bay Area like energy off the sonic properties in East 14. That's why I can say that there is very different sounds, as well as I also think a part of the secret weapon too is just your diversity. And actually, I think that's another key that I felt, especially that was. Let's get into a little bit East 14th now. Actually, while we're talking about it, is that I saw that was different from Death Threats and Love Notes and Rated Oakland. With East 14th, I've just felt like you expanded on the diversity of sounds that you're going over, and it made it more. I don't want to say it made it more accessible to others that weren't from the Bay. For me, because I grew up in a lot of different places, so I feel like I hear a lot of different sounds differently than people that like somebody that's specifically from New York, somebody that's specifically from the Bay Area. They'll pick up on maybe little intricacies that I might not pick on because you have to be specific to that area. But it also gives me the freedom to hear different aspects of it. So like on some of the production, it does sound more East Coast-ish in some of the productions. But again, like I said, I hear East Oakland sounds in there, especially when you add the way that your flow changes and your tone changes. Like I was playing it for a friend that's from Oakland, and he didn't see the name. He didn't hear your album before, and he was like, "Hey, where's this guy from? He must be from the Bay." He was like, because there was a line about Rastas with dreads, and he picked up on that. He's like, "Oh yeah, he must be from the Bay." I was like, yeah, that's one of the things that I like about it is that even if you weren't from the Bay, you hear that line makes sense. But if you're from the Bay, it takes a whole different tone, a whole different meaning. You know what I'm saying? So like it's still accessible to people that aren't from the area, but it has some intricacies that if you are from the area that you pick up, you're like, when you say, get it. Yeah, when you say Roy Williams at a Mac game, some people might not get it. They get it that, it's Roy Williams from UNC watching you play at a basketball game, but they don't get that Mac. That Mac changes that whole line for those in the town. You know what I'm saying? That changes the whole line or the whole feel. So things like that. So I wanted to ask you, how big of an influence do you think the Bay Area has on your music and in the direction on which you take your music?
Well, for me, first and foremost, like, home is everything to me. Like, I take home with me everywhere. I just feel like Oakland and the Bay Area we come from a prideful place. You know, like, we come from one of those places, like, we could talk all the stuff about our own home, but the minute somebody else say something about it,
it's all bad.
It's all bad. We're going 50-150. But for me, I feel like I want to be that artist. And again, this is just my personal opinion. I feel like as musically, the Bay Area, I feel like a lot of times we put ourselves in a box. We put ourselves in a box. And even when it comes to sounding or the way we rap and it's sometimes it bothers me because we have so many talented artists, so many talented people, a lot that I don't even know by always name, but I just know we have so much talent in the Bay Area. So for me, one thing that I knew separated me from a lot of just Bay Area sounding music was just lyricism. That was just one thing that I knew just off top before I even got into Death Threats, Rated Oakland, anything. Like, I'm big on lyrics, and I enjoy making people think. Like, it's dope for me when I perform or even when I'm playing music for people I know are complete strangers, and when I can see people either have their eyes closed, bobbing their head, or they hear a line and they laugh or they smirk or they shake their head, or, you know, just stuff like that. Or even if I'm in a car with somebody and they press stop and then press rewind, like, man, we got to run that back. That's how I know that, okay, you're listening, you know. But as far as the sound, the beauty of it, like, Ninth as always, and Jamla as a whole has always just been like, man, they've pushed Oakland, you know, because even when it came to E14th, just the title of the actual project, I had different titles. I always have a whole bunch of different titles for all my projects, or things that I think I want to, ideas I think I want to have for a title. And what happened was, I was telling Knife, we were in the studio one night, and I was telling him the different titles. He was like, you know, that was cool, but he was like, I think you should just keep it based on home for right now. Like, I don't think but him and somebody else, when I first got to Jamla, long story short, they asked me, what's one thing that you think separates you from a lot of artists or will make you a big artist? And at the time, I was like, I don't know. And the guy said, just the fact that you're from Oakland, people will want to listen. Yep. Now, how long you keep them listening is determined by you after that. But just because you're from Oakland, people are going to be like, it's like, you know, it's a respect factor. Like, oh, well, he's from, you know, you hear certain places like, oh, well, let me check it out. Yeah. So at least I'll give it a listen. At least I'll give it a listen. At least I'll give it a listen. So for me, it was just like, I want to always remain me and just expand what we already have at home. So for me, my goal is to be like, not necessarily take the Bay Area sound away, but just enhance it. And we also have this sound too. Yeah. You know, like, we also, because, I mean, if you listen to the old music, whether it be the old Too Short or Loonies and other stuff, we were rapping over they were rapping over a lot of samples of quote unquote boom bap beats back then. It was just, think about the Far Side. Yeah, of course, you know. So it was just like, it was just our version. And then it went to the hyphy movement and this and that. But I think after a while, we just got caught up in a box. And then sometimes we become the followers as far as our region. We see that and we'll be like, oh, well, let's do that now. And so for E14th, I just wanted to do something for home. Like, I had home on my mind, the good and the bad. And when I came back to Carolina and started recording, I was like, I want to make something for home that everybody can relate to. Yeah. I didn't want to overthink it. And like what you just said earlier, I think it came out that way. You know, I think you could be from Detroit, you could be from New York, you could be from Brazil, a whole nother country, and never even been to Oakland, but I think you could still relate to everything. That was one of the things that I said on because we put you, I think it was number 7 in our top 10 albums of last year. I think you were number 7 and the Rhapsody was number 6, I believe. Okay. And that was one of the reasons that I put you there, is the fact that it felt accessible to everybody outside of the Bay. But again, like I said, if you're from the Bay, there's so many little nuggets, and that's what added to the high replayability for me,
is every time I hear it, there's a new line that I hear that I heard before, and it's not that I didn't get the line, but I took it in a different meaning when you take into the context of being from the Bay or certain things like that. It's just like there's little lines in there again, but I enjoyed the line prior to even taking it from the perspective of somebody that lives and is from the Bay. So I think that added so much to it, as well as the sounds and the energy. Because a lot of the sounds to me were lower energy and lower BPM, which is in my wheelhouse of sounds and that I like. But and that's what added to the Oakland feel of it, is the energy that you would put on certain tracks. You didn't put them on all the tracks, so it didn't have a monotonous feel. It had dynamics and levels. And when you had those moments of high energy in your voice and your delivery, like that's what kept on coming back to my mind. Was I was like, you know, Oakland, sideshows, hyphy movement, that energy that's associated with the Bay. Just like it's not even a feeling, it's an energy. And that I felt is encompassed in this project. And so I think that also adds to adding a new demographic, or not necessarily adding a new demographic, but adding a demographic of younger generation that need that energy. But then you also give the lyricism and the storytelling, which is my wheelhouse. Like that's why I felt like it. That's why it had a good mix for everybody, because it has, like I said, the energy for people that need that high energy, lyricism for people that need the lyricism, people that storytelling that need the storytelling, and it's still thought provoking, but still good music. Like you still feel good about it. Like because sometimes it can be too heavy, and that was another aspect that I felt like you had in there, is you broke it up. And the sequencing of it was really nice, as you broke it up enough so that those heavier moments were then elevated and added some levity to the higher energy moments. So it kept that balance. How was that for you, balancing that dynamic of maintaining lyricism, but again, it's still entertainment. You want to entertain people. How do you go about balancing that?
I just try not to overthink things. You know, like, I love, like, if I probably could, I'd probably be the artist that just goes in the studio and just try to rap your face off on every song if I could, you know, or just try to always say the wittiest stuff and try to make you think over and over all day. What did he really mean in that line? But I think over the years, I think Ninth just did a great job, man. Like, I can't say it enough. Just through the years, I think it's almost been like a Jamla boot camp for us as artists. And learning how to make good music, you know, learning how to make good music that people can relate to. And even now, it's times while I'm writing or creating, I'll be like, I might have a line, I'm like, nah, that's too much. Or I might have a line and be like, no, that's not enough, you know. But even when I'm doing that, I'm not doing it for the consumer necessarily. It's just where it's like, it's just a feeling, you know, because I feel like no matter what you put out, somebody's going to like it, or somebody's not going to like it, or somebody's going to relate to it, somebody's not going to be able to relate to it. But what's the easiest way for you to be you or BQ and put your music out where you're comfortable with it, and then have that feeling where people are coming back? Like for me, even with E14th, and my god brother was the one who thought of E14th. He like, man, we were sitting there and he was like, just name it E14th. And being from East Oakland, and when he said it, Ninth was just like, that's it, you know. And I was just like, I sat on it like a night, and I was like, yeah, that's it. And for me, it was just like, I thought years down the road, I wasn't even thinking it now, years down the road, or whenever, if I continue to do well as an artist in music or whatever, it could get to the point where now when somebody sees or hears E14th that's never been to Oakland or the Bay Area, they're like, I want to go there.
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted that feeling. Like, I want people to, Oakland and the Bay Area to be, like, really popping. I want people to want to come there. And it doesn't just have to be for me, just in general. It's almost like when Atlanta was rocking with the Falcons and T.I. was putting this out, and Jeezy was putting this out, and Luda was putting this out. It's like, man, I want to go to Atlanta right now. You know, or when you hear Jay rap about Marcy Projects.
Yeah, you want to go to New York. Yeah, at least want to see it.
You want to go there. You know, you want to see it. So it's like, for me, it feels good to be able, even while I was at home during the holidays, you know, I catch myself like smiling to myself like, damn, I'm riding down East 14th, listening to East 14th. Like, you know, that was a good feeling for me. So, you know, to have people, it's a great thing that Oakland and the Bay Area love it, because that's really who I did it for. And to have people, whether they grew up with me or, you know, a complete stranger, just be like, man, I felt every bit of that project. Like, I felt it. But it's even a bigger, I say a doper feeling at times when it's like somebody who's never been there. And they like, man, I love Oakland.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been there, but I just love it. Like, I know I love it. But just the stories you put out. So I try not to overthink it, man, and try to have fun with it and challenge myself. I try to challenge myself as an artist all the time.
One of the things that I did want to do with you is break down some lines and just go over some tracks that and just get some deeper ideas behind it.
Okay.
The process with it. And the first line that I have to point out, because when I first heard the album, this line stuck out to me and it just was really funny to me, but it makes sense when I'll say it though. It was I got a thing for beats, not the Doug Funny kind. It's not, you know, but it's just the idea of Doug Funny, everybody out there, Nickelodeon, like, just it brought me back to my youth of a child of watching Doug Funny, seeing Pork Chop, and the craziness with the beats all the time. Like, come on, what's up with these beats? But I just
you gotta know who the beats are, man. If you don't know the Honker Burger and everything, man, you gotta know the beats, man.
Exactly. And if you don't know Skeeter, then we ain't rocking. But
yeah, we're not partners if you don't know who Skeeter is.
But I just thought that was really funny, and I just thought it was a real funny line, and that's what I was talking about, of adding levity to certain areas to bring you back, so you're not in, you know, such a, I won't say dark place, but a heavy place. That brought you, you know, lines like that bring you back, like, you know, that's funny. And it, you know, still keeps you within the mode of the song. Like I said, the other line that I really enjoyed was the I got partners that look like Rastas. That shit, it was just like immediately that line, you see it in your head, especially if you're from Oakland. You just you instantly see pictures in your head of cats going dumb at side shows. Like, that's what popped into my head. I was like, oh, yeah, where Big Mike at? Like, where the dreads at? Like, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You use a lot of Bay Area terms throughout the album, partners, like stuff like that. Like, during the writing process and during, you know, the recording process, did anybody, especially that wasn't from the Bay, like, go to you and be like, I don't get what you mean by like certain terms like that? Because I know when I lived in Atlanta and I said partners, they took it a lot differently than we do in the Bay.
Right, straight up.
So I was just wondering if anything like that happened during the process with you.
Well, it's kind of different now, you know, with Jamla, because we're in Carolina, and I actually have three close, they're like brothers to me, basically, besides my actual god brother. But like, I have an engineer that I pretty much grew up with. Okay. He moved to Carolina with me.
So they know the terms.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, but the point I was trying to make was that it's four dudes from Oakland out here, and we're always in the studio. So like, they getting hit with town language, they getting hit with that ism all day. Like, so knifing them pretty much, it's kind of second nature to them in a lot of sense. Like, it might be sometimes we might say one or two things, and they be like, huh, but then they'll catch on to it, or like Alpha, we'll catch Knife saying, or just about everybody in Bright Lady and Jamla saying hella now, like all the time, you know, and not saying like we were the only ones that said hella, but you know, most times the Bay Area is usually, or California are usually the only people that say hella, usually mostly in the Bay Area for the most part.
Yeah, that's true. I think I found some people in Detroit, I think that say it too.
I noticed that too. A few in Detroit say hella too. But now it's like second nature, or like partners and different stuff like that, or whatever you may have, different nicknames we have for stuff. But I think for me, I like it. Like,
I mean, I think that's dope.
Like I like the fact, like, an artist like Mozzie, when Mozzie talks, he talks like Sacramento. You know, and he doesn't try to conform to anybody else, so that it's like, look, eventually if you listen enough, you're gonna understand it. You're gonna get it, you know. It's, but yeah, I think it was just natural. I think I don't ever try to change anything, or sometimes it's funny because sometimes, like, if I'm just out, I'll catch myself like, oh, I ain't gonna say this because they're not gonna understand what that is, or you know. But no, I'm just always me when it comes to music. And the dope thing about, again, with Jamla, like, they always just want me to be me. You know, they just want they want me to be me and bring the best Q out as an artist and the most Oakland I could bring out to a dope project, you know, and that's how it's always been. So it makes things flow easy.
I mean, that's lucky because I've heard other artists in similar situations that say that they don't have that freedom. They don't feel like they can be themselves. That they, you know, so
Right.
I think, like you said, it's about timing, and then you are lucky that, you know, everything lined up to work in the best manner that would be for you.
Right.
One of the tracks that I would say that was, I guess, resonated really strong was "Take Care," just because of how introspective it was, and as
Right.
well as it just felt really heartfelt. Like, and with the title like "Take Care," you would imagine that it was so, but from the production to your flow to the content, it all matched up perfectly in that vein to me. And it took on the overarching thing that I took from that song was the feeling of responsibility and like all the aspects that encompasses of responsibilities you have to others, responsibilities you have to yourself, and
Right.
the weight that can have. I imagine that, you know, trying to be an artist that's coming or being an artist that's coming from Oakland and different than like LA where you have, you know, stars that have solidified and you know, held that down like Snoop, you know what I'm saying? Like the
Right.
Bay Area doesn't have, we have Too Short, of course, we have E40, but they still didn't reach, you know, those pinnacles that you see in New York, Atlanta,
Right.
LA, where
Right.
they know the sound of the Bay Area, but they don't have one specific Mac Dre, I guess, but no
Right.
long-term consistent album contents out. Was that anything that you were taking consideration when you were talking about Take Care, about that responsibility?
I was. And it's funny because I never really, like, I never wanted to be, fame was not a big part of me wanting to do music, you know, but I'm realizing with certain stuff you do, it's same with rap, like, rap's low-key, Ninth's low-key, pretty much everybody on Jamla's low-key, but looking from the outside in, you can't necessarily tell because you see them everywhere,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, and Rap just had an interview on the Breakfast Club, and she said, you know, the same thing, but they asked her, I think it was Charlamagne, and said, did you ever want to be famous? And her answer was a lot kind of like mine, where it was like, I never wanted to be famous. I just wanted to be known for what I do.
Yeah, there's a
but
big
not
difference.
necessarily. Yeah, a very big difference. I wanted to be recognized for what I do. And, you know, fame has its pros and cons. You know, it might can help you get into a restaurant where you don't, or it might have to let you get into a venue where you don't have to stand in line. But then there's also situations where it's like, well, now that everybody knows me, I might can't even eat at a restaurant without people bothering me, or I can't even go to the park. Right, I can't go to the park with my child and just have a regular day. So it's always been pros and cons of fame. For me, it's just like I just want my music to touch everybody. And I know with that, if that happens, fame just comes, you know, is a part of it.
It's a byproduct.
But I want to be that artist. I want people to be proud musically of that artist from home again. You know, because even when it comes to 40 and Short, who are definitely legends at what they do, and they've opened doors for somebody like myself. But it's like, I mean, it's still, we have to go back in time and like, oh, they're Short and 40, and yes, they're still making music now, but it's like they're the OGs.
Yeah,
you know, it's like LA doesn't depend on Snoop making music. You know what I'm saying? Because you have Kendrick, you have Nipsey, you have so many different artists, even the Game.
Yeah, Game.
I mean, you got all the teams.
YG.
I mean, you have, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many, and there's gonna continue to be more and more artists in Atlanta and New York. Like, you have Jay-Z, of course, and you have 50, and you have all of these, but then you have a Dave East and you know, a different other artists, and you're gonna always continue to have other artists. I feel like we've been in a situation where it's like, well, 40 and Short have kind of, and Mac Dre have kind of only been our big
exactly
staples for us for a while.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like we're stuck in with that group, and it's like not taken away from that group, but it's
not at all.
We gotta, like you said about LA, New York, Atlanta, you gotta stay refreshing that group, that pool that we're pulling from, and I don't feel like we're necessarily getting anything to fulfill to take those places, because you got to pass down that torch, just like Snoop said about Kendrick. He's passing the torch to Kendrick.
And I wanted, you know, I don't want to just compete. You know, I'm competitive, and even when it comes to music, but it's like I don't want to just compete with Bay Area artists or rappers. It's like I want to be recognized with everybody, you know. And I told me and my brother, and we always have good talks. And I said, man, think about from other places besides the Bay Area. I'm like, nobody necessarily says like T.I.'s and Atlanta artists.
Nope.
Or if they do, they specifically say where he's from, or they don't say Jay-Z's a New York artist or Rick Ross is a Florida artist. But when it comes to us, it's like, oh, he a Bay Area artist, Bay Area artist, Bay Area artist. It's like they just put us in a box. And so even for me, again, just being prideful, but it's like, it's been times like people have been like, oh, well, we have this Bay Area artist with us. And I'm like, nah, Oakland artist. You know, because for me, it's just like, if you're going to say something like that, let them really know where it is. You know, let them really know, because, and then it gets to the point, I feel if you're talented enough, then you're out of that box. And people keep, you know, because like nobody says, oh, Kendrick's an LA artist.
Nope.
He's an international artist, honestly.
Yeah, like, not anymore. They used to in the beginning. I remember with Section 80, there'd be Kendrick, this LA rapper Kendrick. Now they just go Kendrick. They go
and I think that,
J. Cole.
And I think that, I think exactly. You know, but I think it's something that I even had to learn over the time. As far as just because I could be honest. I used to get frustrated because I feel like, well, man, like, am I really good enough? Like, why aren't people listening to me? And then it's just stuff I had to learn about the game, the music industry, and learning just to have patience and other things that come with it. But I feel it was helpful because now, looking at the situation that we're in, I understand things a lot more. So now, if somebody, whether you were here day one or, you know, like yourself, you like, man, I heard of you from listening to Rhapsody. Like now, it's like I'm appreciative of all of that because I'm realizing people are going to hear you at different times. Now, some people might only listen to you because you're on a certain platform.
Yeah, that's true.
But even with that, it's like, take it for what it is, and you know, you continue doing you. So, yeah, man, I think with the whole process thus far with music and everything that's gone thus far with everything, I think it's really just been a growth journey. And I think not just but we at Jamla have grown a lot, and I know I've grown a lot just as an artist, as a man, and just understanding a lot. So I think that's the thing that's really been helping me with my music. You know, not more so. One thing my dad has always told me, like, you understand people a lot more when you understand yourself.
That's very
and
true.
I think I've definitely gone through some different things, both good and bad, in the last years, where it's like it's helped me know who Q is or know who Quentin is. You know what I'm saying? So I think it just correlates to the music.
And I would say, like I said prior, is I can tell in this album, again, this was the first album I listened to. This was the first album that I went to of yours, and then I went back.
Right.
And I can hear that change. I can hear evolution in your lyrics and your storytelling and just the way you chose to go over certain productions. I can hear that, and that to me again shows that you're working on your craft, and that you're not to say that the first album wasn't good or the second album wasn't good. You can just see growth, and you want to see growth and elevation and changes.
Right.
I would say the storytelling ability, that's what I go to. If you're a good storyteller, you at least get one good, I'll play your album one time at least. And then we'll take it from there. But that's what, again, hooked me with your album is there's so many good stories in there and so great lines and concepts. And then, like I said, and some of them you get really deep and specific in content that I feel like some artists are afraid to touch on because of divisions and sides that can be caused by it. Like on WID, we hate each other more than whites, but we don't confess to that. Like that line itself, I can see a lot of people saying, "Oh no, I'm not gonna say that." I know, because I know I'm gonna get some brushback, or I know I'm gonna get some, even though it's a valid statement to have. Even if you don't agree with it, you know what I'm saying? Even if you agree with it or disagree with it, you have the right to have that statement. Now let's have a discussion based off that statement. Why do you feel that way? Well, this is why I feel that way. But people don't want to have that discussion. So I just wanted to, like I said, commend you on that, on lines like that I feel like you're touching on things that people don't want to touch on.
I think the thing about being an artist is right off gate, you have to know that you have to, two things. You're going to have to hurt and you have to be vulnerable. And the reason I say you have to hurt is because you're going to have to go and dig in some places that you might didn't want to dig and go to in order to bring out some feelings and emotions to make dope music. Like it's crazy, but it's like I feel like a lot of the dopest music that we actually feel comes from pain or confusion or not understanding. And for me, one thing that I've noticed, even with people telling me, they like, man, I just love the fact that you're so honest in your music. Like the day people have to start questioning me as an artist, that's the day I'm like, all right, I'm done. Because now I feel like I'm trying to make them think I'm something that I'm really not. But you know, even when it comes to me and touching on topics and stuff, I like to make people think. Like even the line you just said, we hate each other more than whites, but don't confess to that. Whether you agree to it or not, there's going to be somebody who's like, damn, he was right. Or, damn, I didn't think of that. Or I never thought of that. You know, and it just makes it, that can open up a whole different, that can open up a conversation in just somebody's household.
Yeah, just, you know, that line in itself. You say that at a reunion.
Right.
Boy,
you know what I'm saying? So
or
like,
you say that at the barbershop, you say that around a whole bunch of people. Like you said, at least there's probably going to be at least one person that's going to be like, hold up.
Right. So for me, it's like that's always my goal, you know. And I used to be hesitant on certain lines. There'd be certain lines where I'd be like, nah, I ain't going to say that because that's going to ruffle feathers. But now it's like, why not ruffle some? And especially if it's coming from a genuine place. Exactly. You know?
I mean, that also to me shows the growth, like you said. And when you know yourself, you know that, like you said, now that you know when you ask these questions or you pose these certain things, it's not, I'm not trying to troll somebody or, you know, just get a reaction. This is how I feel behind it. Right. And if need be, or push come to shove, I can back up why I felt that way. And we can, like you said, now we can have a discussion.
Right.
But
most definitely.
Yeah, but if you don't have that confidence in yourself or in the line, or you're still trying to figure out yourself and determine if you really believe this line or if you're really behind it, that might come into play.
And then for me, I don't want to be. I think I'm. It's going to sound weird. I've gotten to the point where I've become selfish for the music to where it's like, you know, music is therapeutic for me. You know, I never go into the studio like, all right, well, we got to make a club banger for this, or we got to make this type of music because the people want this. I go into music making, all right, Quentin, how do you feel today? Like first and foremost. Or it might be a conversation, or somebody close to me might have lost somebody, or my cousin might have just had a baby the other day. So now it's like that's fresh on my mind. But for me, it's like I had an interview maybe a month or two ago, and somebody was asking me about E14th, and they were like, we see that you talk about depression. And even during the interview, they were like, I don't know if you want to talk about it now or if you want to go. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. And for me, it was just like, we're all dealing with something. So we never know that just exposing how we're going through it, that can help somebody else get through what they're going through. Yeah. Or be confident enough to be like, damn, I didn't know Q was dealing with that, or I didn't know Bro was dealing with that. I'm dealing with that too. No, that's how I love for my music to be, where people can learn from it, people can laugh from it. I tell people, whenever you listen to my music, whether it's a song or a project, I want it to always be an experience, or a show. I just want it to be an experience. And it's almost like you leave where it's like, I don't even know what that just was, but it made me feel every kind of emotion I've ever felt.
No, like I said, for me, you definitely get that feeling throughout this project several times. You definitely feel like you're getting more personal with you. Again, if you're really listening to what you're saying, you learn a lot about you. Like, you learn that you have a sister. You know what I'm saying? You learn certain things if you really pick up the lines. You learn you would obviously learn if you listen to it that you're from Oakland. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
there's certain things you can't miss, and then there's certain things that you can miss if you're really not paying attention.
Right.
One of the things that I did really, really enjoy was the shout out to Guapale on Till It's Over. Because Closer, especially, like I said, I wasn't born in the Bay, but I spent most of my life in the Bay, so I consider the Bay my home. When Guapale's Closer came out, that changed the world for me. Like,
everything, man. Like, we graduated to Closer.
Exactly. Like that changed. I was like, yo, this is like one of the greatest songs ever.
Yeah.
And just like the emotional attachment that I have with it, and that I like when I went to Atlanta for college, I made sure anybody that knew that I was from the Bay, they knew about Guapale.
You know
what I'm saying? Just because I thought she was so dope, and like I felt like she really embodied Oakland. Like just from her presence, just her soulfulness, and so and it wasn't an image that we got to see a lot. Like think about what really women do we that we know, like that we just broadcast out from the Bay. There's not many.
True. It's
not. The fact to have one like Guapale that was giving out such good music, and just the whole aesthetic. To me, she had the complete package of the whole delivery. So I just wanted to push that. And then the fact that you paid homage to that song in particular, I just thought it was really dope. Like I said, it brought me back to high school and college, or high school when that song originally came out.
Yeah, I mean, you and I probably slapped Closer the same amount of time, over a million times, just throughout our whole life. But Guapale is somebody, and I've never, Ninth knows Guap. We've actually been in the same room and stuff like that, but I don't think I've never personally met Guap. But, you know, she's just somebody, like, I was a fan of Guapale growing up. Yeah. You know, it's crazy not even knowing her, but she just seemed like somebody who had a beautiful spirit about herself.
Yeah, that's the same feeling I got. Like, she just had it felt like she had a good vibe. Like, I want to chill with you. Let's and not even on just some like
just on
cool
some
people.
Stuff.
Yeah,
like, I'm just
just
chilling.
cool people vibe.
But yeah, I think I mean, if you know, if everything came about at the perfect timing, I would love to one day do some music with Guapale. Very talented, of course, very talented, and an icon from where we're at, especially. But that just goes to show, like, there is so much different talent in the Bay Area. And for me, it's like, I also want to recognize those that inspired me, you know, or even when I wasn't thinking about music, like, you just helped me get through life, or you helped me get through class, like, you know. But it's dope to see somebody like a Guapale, and then to be able to work with somebody like a Netta Brielle, you know, who is so very, very, very gifted and amazing, and is also just a beautiful spirit, just a beautiful person, you know. So to be able to acknowledge, but more so be around those type of people and making music and doing what you love to do, you know, because even with the Netta Brielle with Stay on E14th.
Yeah, that's a great song too.
Thank you, man. Netta B is somebody that I've wanted to work with for a long time. But you know, I never really knew Netta B personally. But a close friend of mine, him and Netta B are cousins, like they're real cousins. So, and he happens to be my engineer. So we were recording, and I was like, man, I want a singer on this. And he was like, what you think of Netta B? And I was just like, man, I mean, if we could get Netta B, like, you know, like, I was really saying it because I didn't know Netta B personally. So
yeah, he's like,
you know, I wasn't gonna
just throwing it out there.
I'm not, at least not now. Hopefully, once I get to the level, I probably will be one of the artists where I'll just tweet somebody if I really want to work with them, and if they say no, then cool, or if they say yes, cool. But I just knew once he said it, I'm like, man, her voice would she just blow this song away. And he like, well, I'm gonna reach out to her. He reached out to her, and she was like, she do it. And the beauty of it, I'll never forget this. The day she recorded, we recorded on 2 different days, so I just recorded my verses. The day she came to record hers, I wasn't at the studio. So even to this day, me and Netta B have never been in the studio together. You know?
Okay, yeah. But the chemistry that y'all have on there, of how the sounds meld together,
it was perfect.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how it would sound without her on it. Like,
it was perfect. I can't. And it was funny because he sent it. I listened to it. I'm like, man, she killed it. And I had DM'd her, and I was just like, man, thank you. Like, you killed it. And she was just like, no problem. And then when I found out I was going on tour and we had a show in Oakland, I hit her up. I'm like, man, would you mind performing Stay? Like, would you be interested? She went like, man, I'd love to. Just let me know. You know, if I'm not busy or if I'm home. Let's do it. And she came to New Parish, man. That night was just special in itself. But,
Oh, wow.
you know, just to be able to do Stay with Netta B, and, you know, like, she's just a dope person, man. I wish nothing but the best for her. And hopefully we can make some more music down the road.
Yeah, because that track, the vibe on it it's so 90s in the vibe that it creates, but it's up to date in the still with the sound, but in the flow and her delivery. Both of y'all like really did a great job on that. And like I said, the vibe on there is so smooth.
Thank you, man.
It's really smooth. And like I said, it adds a different dimension to the album.
Right.
Which, like I said, it gives the dynamics that I enjoy through albums. I don't want to hear an album that's one tone, one feel consistently, because life's not like that. You know, life is dynamic. You have your ups, you have your downs.
Stay for me is like, man, I love R&B. Like, I rap, but
that's why
I listen to R&B. Like, my rapping them were laughing. My DJ Face, who went on tour with us and rap, they were laughing at me sometimes because we'd be on the way to the show and I'd be listening to like Anita Baker or something like that. And like, you getting ready for your show? And I'm like, yeah, like, this is how I get ready. Like, I did the same thing for Hoop, but I just love R&B. So, I mean, I even talked to Knife about one day, like, I just want to do a whole R&B project.
I like R&B too. I mean, it seems like we similar in thought, because like when I go work out, I'll throw on some R&B. My brother the other day,
R&B hype. I feel you.
We
bro.
riding in the car. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm getting ready to go to the gym. What do you mean?
I feel you.
That reminds me of that Russell Westbrook commercial. He's like, they said never pregame to slow jams.
Right.
So, but hey, if it works for you, it works for you. It's about that sound, it's that feeling, and that is a great. That's why I like that song so much. Is that R&B feel that you're talking about?
Thank you, man.
And I really enjoyed how you ended the track with "Away From Here." I just thought that it just kept me. It was a nice way to close it out, as well as making me want, like, I'm like, oh, now I can't wait for the next project.
Right.
Just because of that feel that it gave. And like I said, it's a really, really dope project, man. And I just had to tell people about it, and I'm glad that we got you to for the interview to get more information about the project and to get to know you a little bit more.
Thank you, man. I think E14th. I always tell people, out of all the different stuff, and I've done other projects even besides Rated Oakland, Death Threats, Love Notes, and E14th. But I feel like up to date, I feel like if somebody was to ask me, what project can I listen to of yours, and I'll feel like I know you, I feel like this one is it. I feel like this is the most personal one that I've done thus far, whether it be from the stories or even about myself. And I think that's why it's been getting the reviews, or just the support and the love that it's been getting thus far, because I feel like people feel like, damn, like, I feel like I know him, even if I don't. Like, I feel like I know him, or even if I haven't been to the Bay Area or Oakland, I've never driven down E14th a day in my life. I feel like I've seen all of that stuff before, and that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to get across. So that's dope.
Yeah, man, it's a snapshot of Oakland and a snapshot of you.
Right.
And it's a combination of putting both of those together. So I definitely tell anybody who hasn't checked it out, go check out E14th. You can, I know for a fact you can get it on iTunes, because I've been blowing it up on iTunes. So definitely check out E14th on iTunes. And while you're at it, go check out Death Threats and Love Notes, as well as Rated Oakland. All three projects are really, really good projects. E14th to me was a great project. Like I said, it made our top 7 on the top 10 albums of 2017. So if you listen to the Stay Woke podcast before, you know what kind of music we listen to. Check out that episode, and you'll see that he was against some tough competition, because last year was a great year in hip hop, especially, and he came out with a dope project. Are you working on concert dates or any new projects coming up soon?
We have. I'm going on tour, our Europe tour. Where I'm going on a Europe tour with Rap, the Wisdom is Power tour, where we're going to Europe from February 27th to March 13th, I believe. So we'll be hitting different spots like Amsterdam, Berlin, Paris, London. I think we have like 10 or 11 shows out there. So we're getting ready for that. Like I said, I'm in the studio right now, so just trying to stay busy and always wanting to work. But other than that, man, we have a lot of stuff coming musically, even like apparel. I'm just trying to be involved with a lot of different things and things that I've been setting up for years. That, you know, timing is everything. But I think people are really going to be excited about what's to come, especially with how people are receiving E14th again thus far. I think people will be really excited for everything else that's about to come. So I'm just thankful for all the love and support that people have been giving E14th, Jamla, you know, Rap, her nomination and everything, Layla's Wisdom, Heather Victoria. We got Ruben Vinson, very talented, only 16. Well, Ruben's 17 now, from Charlotte. Heather Victoria is putting something out very soon.
Yeah,
the Soul Council.
Wasn't she featured on your Rated Oakland?
She was on she was on that, and she's on Change
Your Life. That's
E14th.
right. Yeah. And she's dope too.
So we have a lot of different things coming out, and of course, you know, Naim stay busy. We always call him the busiest man on earth. And then the Soul Council, man, it's just from Eric G to Cash, Crisis, E. Jones, and Knots. It's just dope to have people and a team like Jamla around, man. But definitely a lot of great things coming in store. So again, just thank you guys for having me today.
No problem. Definitely, when you have your next project or you got concert dates coming out in the States, you know, let us know and we'll put it up, let the listeners know. All the Stay Woke listeners that are in Europe, because we have some in the UK, some in Germany, actually some all over.
Okay.
So all of you out there that are listening, we'll get those dates up for you as well so that you can go check that tour out, because like I said, man, both of these artists are dope. Rhapsody as well as GQ are dope. So if you out there, you got time, you got the money, go to the show. Why not? I would.
Most definitely.
Most
definitely.
Yeah, we'll get that information up so that they can find out ways to get those tickets. And like I said, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, anytime you want to come back, you have anything coming up, or shoot, you just want to shoot the breeze, we'll get you on and do another podcast.
Man, it's all love, man. Again, man, you guys it's been a pleasure today just talking to you guys about everything. And thank you guys again just for the love and support, man, that you guys have. I'm pretty sure you guys will hear from me again. I'll probably be back home in the next couple months. If not March, then definitely in April. So
okay, yeah.
You know, maybe down the road we could chop it up again, man.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. That'd be great. So like I said, I want to say thank you to GQ. Check out E14th. It's on all the platforms you can think of. And like I said, definitely on iTunes. We want to also thank Jamla, thank Nine, thank Rhapsody, thank everybody for listening first and foremost. And you know our motto, live, listen to some great music, and above all, love more. We out.